This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
If your roof starts to leak or your floors really squeak, you live in a money pit. Money pit.
If your basement needs a pump or your place looks like a dump, you live in a money pit. Money pit. Pick up the telephone.
Fix up your home sweet home by calling 888-MONEY-PIT.
The Money Pit is presented by Ladera by Pavestone. Now here's Leslie Segretti.
Coast to coast and floorboards to shingles, this is the Money Pit, and I'm Leslie Segretti. Happy fall, everybody. You've got me and Jim Kenzie on the line here, helping you out with all of your home improvement how-tos. How's it going, Jim?
It's going tremendous, Les. Things are couldn't be better, actually.
I love it.
Yeah, some light at the end of some proverbial tunnels I've been, thinking about, and got some stuff going on, both business and personal, so I'm happy.
I love that. And you mentioned that it's light at the end of the tunnel. However, it's getting darker earlier, sir. So that light might be a flashlight.
It could be. That'd be more appreciated then, wouldn't it?
All right, guys. Well, we do have daylight savings coming up. I never can remember if it begins or ends, but sooner than later, you're going to have to set those clocks back. I'll remind you when it's actually close because I tend to forget. Mm-hmm. But things we're not going to forget is some stuff that we're tackling this hour here on the Money Pit, including winter. It is around the corner. I know it just became fall, but winter, when it arrives, is super tough on concrete. So with a few simple steps right now, you can save yourself from big repair bills later. Coming up, we're going to tell you how to seal cracks, protect the surfaces, and keep your concrete looking great all season long with a little help from Quikrete. It's easy, it's inexpensive, and one weekend project that you'll be glad you tackled. And also ahead, are you ready to give your space a fresh look before the holidays hit? Well, fall is actually the perfect time to paint. So coming up, we're going to share how to choose the right color, prep your walls like a pro, and the seasonal tricks that will make your paint job smoother and longer lasting, whether you're going bold or you're just freshening up the trim. You're going to want to hear this. And also, do you have a room in your house that feels like a lost cause? Well, you're not alone. More than half of Americans say at least one of the rooms in their house is unsalvageable. But don't give up just yet. Coming up, we're going to share simple, stress-free ways to declutter, reclaim that space, and possibly even turn it into one of the most functional or fabulous rooms in the home. So we love that. But first, we need you guys. So give us a call so that we can lend a hand with all of your home improvement and design projects. We're standing by at 888-MONEY-PIT. Jim, who do we have first?
All right, Leslie, we're going to head out to Alaska, where LaDonna needs some help with snow management. At least that's what I think is going on. What's happening, LaDonna?
I live in Chugiak, Alaska, where we get plenty of snow each winter. My log cabin has a 612 pitch, and I'm wondering if I put tarps over my roof, whether the snow will slide off and prevent a lot of buildup. I typically get a lot of buildup each winter and use a roof rake to take it down, but I was told that maybe the snow would slide off a tarp.
All right. Well, I guess you live in Alaska, so you're going to deal with a lot of snow. So it's kind of good that you're calling us now so we can get ahead of this when it does start to snow a lot. First of all, you're in like a southerner part of Alaska. Is it okay to say that that's slightly warmer than other parts of Alaska? Or
it's still not balmy.
So I think what you're dealing with is that the snow is just heavier and stickier. And I think you're hoping that the tarp kind of gives you the ability to not stick to the roof and come off much easier. But I don't know that it's giving you the relief that you want for the trouble that it's worth. And when it does stick, you're just going to have to get up there with the roof rake and fix it. So, and it could be harder to get down. It's definitely going to damage the tarp in doing so. While I appreciate the effort, I just don't think that this is what's going to work for you. And the only thing that might work could be heating cables, which will stop that buildup from happening quite as much. But again, that's going to be expensive to run. So sadly, I know you're dealing with super cold weather and super dark time in the winter. I think a snow rake is really just going to kind of be the best thing for you. And, you know, when you're out there, you can look at the northern lights and be super happy. Bright side, hashtag bright side, LaDonna.
Out in Maryland, Leslie, we've got Bill, and he's got some chimney issues. Can you fill us in a little bit, Bill?
Well, I have a crown on my chimney, and I would estimate it's about 12 to 15 years old. There are a couple of relatively small cracks in it, and I had a chimney sweep come out to the house, and he did his cleaning that he normally does, and then he looked at it, and he suggested that I did not need to have it replaced, that it could just be covered over with what he called plastic roof cement. And he said this is a very thick product. You put it on with a trowel. And he said that would take care of the problem, and that, in fact, sometimes removing a crown from a chimney, in doing so, they can actually damage the chimney. So he did not recommend removal.
All right, well, here, I kind of partially agree with your chimney sweep. You don't have to remove the chimney crown. Now, for those of you wondering what that is, if you have a brick chimney, you have a flue pipe that goes through the middle of that, and when it comes to the top, there's sort of this bed of mortar that's built up, and coming from it is the flue pipe that's sort of towards the end of the chimney, and that is called a chimney crown. And it basically just takes the rain that falls and runs it off the edge of the brick. Now, cracks form very commonly in those crowns, and when it happens, all you have to do is caulk those cracks. And you could use a good quality caulk like a silicone sealant, but the thing is, you put the plastic roof cement on top of that, here's what's going to happen. Water is going to get in under that anyway. It's going to have no way to evaporate, and so that water kind of stays in that crown, and then it freezes when it expands, and it cracks even more. So you'll just end up having to replace it eventually. So I don't think that it's a really good idea here. Plastic roofs, cements, in my view, should be pretty much outlawed because there's no reason to use it. If you do the flashing properly and you have a little crack, you seal it. You don't need all of that stuff. It's kind of like a way to do a quick fix. But the problem is that fix doesn't last that long, and it ends up coming back again and again and again.
And would you also recommend caulking along the bottom of it, the line where it meets the chimney?
I mean, not necessarily. Maybe just around the chimney liner itself, but not at the edge. It's not necessary.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Oh, you're so welcome. Good luck with your project, and thanks so much for calling us at 888-MONEY-PIT.
I had the time of my life. I never felt this way before.
From building timelines to assigning the right people and even spotting risks across dozens of projects, Monday Sidekick knows your business, thinks ahead, and takes action. One click on the star and consider it done.
And I owe it all to you.
Try Monday Sidekick. AI you'll love to use on Monday.com.
Hey, Money Pit listeners, if we've saved you some time, money, or hassles with your projects, you would totally make our day by leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Just go to moneypit.com/review. Well, as the days get shorter, lighting becomes everything, especially for you, Jim, at the end of that tunnel.
The aforementioned tunnel, yeah.
The tunnel you keep talking about. But truly, it is getting darker earlier. The days do feel shorter. It can definitely feel a little suffocating. So think about adding a table or floor lamp to just brighten those dark corners. Bring in warm-toned LED bulbs for just that golden autumny glow. Try stringing some fairy lights across a mantle or a bookshelf just for a little sparkle, or group candles of varying heights on trays for that magical fall ambiance without the open flame if you go flameless, which is great because you can control the temperature of those candle lights with the LED. You can sort of control if they flicker or not. And best of all, if you forget to turn them off, you're nice and safe and sound at home. So lots of great ways that you can bring the light in and kind of make those evenings feel a little magical. All right, Jim, let's get back to the callers. Who's up?
Well, we all deal with neighbors sometimes, and some are better than others. And sometimes some of them are really, really loud, just like Marilyn's daughter's neighbor. What's going on over there, Marilyn?
The walls are so thin that she can hear them at a regular, she says, I haven't heard it, but she says at a regular volume. She switched her bedroom over and her living room over so they don't share that wall, but it's still just as bad. So it's not that they're, how do I put it? And she says the worst thing is I can hear what they're saying.
And that's like a little TMI, right? Oh man, Marilyn, I'm sorry. All right. So I love the phrase, the walls are very thin. And I think a lot of people actually think when they say the walls are thin that we're saying the walls are actually physically thin, but they're not. It's just the way the wall construction was done. There's a lot of ways for sounds to kind of transmit. So typically in a condo, they take steps to make sure that doesn't happen. They use different types of sound deadening approaches. Maybe it's insulation. They can use a type of insulation called rock wool that has sound deadening capabilities that's typically used in a wall like that. But the problem is that these kind of changes can't be made without physically taking that wall apart. You have to kind of take the sheetrock off.
Can you do something on her side of the wall? That's what I'm questioning. I don't think that that's going to happen.
Yeah, no, I understand that. You'd have to disassemble her house from her side, and I don't think that's going to happen. And she's probably not even allowed to do that. So here's the thing. I mean, you could go ahead and put a second layer of drywall right on top of the existing layer of drywall, and you do that with a special type of glue. It comes like in a caulking tube. It's called green glue, and it's made specifically to be a sound deadening glue. But you do have to kind of cover the entire wall with the stuff and then glue and screw that second layer of drywall right on top of that. And that's going to create a barrier that's going to absorb some of that sound. There's also a type of drywall that already has that sound deadening material built into it. One of the manufacturers is called Quiet Rock, and it's basically a sound deadening drywall. But you have to remember that sound is not only going through the drywall itself, but it kind of gets around the holes that are in the wall, the outlets, the switches, heating ducts, whatever else is on there. So you usually have to go from behind the outlet box, for example, and get sort of like a putty or a gasket that comes on a sheet, and you put that behind the outlet cover, so that kind of quiets that area down. I mean, you do really have to address all the different areas. And you can kind of also address this from like a decorating standpoint. You can get some wall covering. I mean, you can almost even like upholster the wall itself. It just depends on what level of commitment you're allowed to do in the space that she's in. You can hang drapes, put up a curtain rod along the ceiling and then just hang long drapes along the entire wall. There's acoustical wall panels that sort of get built out with a channel system on the wall, and then it snaps in place. So you build out this channel system, you put some acoustic foam on the wall, you wrap it in fabric, and then snap the outer layer around it. It actually looks awesome. It's super easy to install, but it is a big project. And again, it's got to be in a space that you're in for the long haul, because you are adhering things to the wall, you're putting in, screw holes. It's a lot of stuff. So if you're in the space where you can do this, it's great. I did this for my sister's apartment with those acoustic panels when they lived in the city and they just had a very noisy neighbor, and it did the trick and it made the bedroom look really, really great. So there's a lot of things that you can do. You just have to figure out what you're comfortable with doing yourself and what you would need to hire a pro for.
Oh, I can't thank you enough. I can't believe that you called back. This is great.
All right, you're welcome. Good luck with everything. I hope your daughter gets her privacy back. Well, if you have concrete surfaces around the house, think about your driveway, the walkway, patios, even a garage floor, now is the time to protect them before winter weather starts doing real damage. So as the temperature drops, snow, ice, de-icing salts, they don't just disappear. They do work their way into every little crack and crevice. And once that moisture freezes and thaws, it expands and contracts over and over again. And that's going to widen those cracks and weaken the surface underneath. And that will lead to uneven slabs, spalling, and even expensive repair bills come springtime. But the good news, Quikrete has simple, affordable solutions to stop that damage before it starts. So let's start with the cracks. Now, a crack in a concrete area is the number one entry point for winter moisture. So the water gets in, it freezes, and then it lifts the slab. And that's why it's essential to seal those cracks now, and Quikrete makes it easy. For cracks up to a half an inch wide, you want to use Quikrete polyurethane crack sealant. It's a textured, flexible caulk that will permanently seal and waterproof those gaps. That makes it perfect for a sidewalk, a driveway, even your steps. And it blends with the texture of concrete and it flexes with the surface as the temperatures change. And that's important because it means it's going to stick. Now, for a smaller crack, a 1/4 inch wide or less, you can try Quikrete concrete crack seal. This one's going to be self-leveling. It's a pourable latex emulsion, so it fills those narrow cracks and it blends with the natural color of the concrete. You kind of just pour it in, let it settle, and walk away. If you guys are a visual learner, you can check out the step-by-step how-to videos at quikrete.com. They have all the details there. Now, you want to seal the surface as your next step because even concrete that looks solid can soak up moisture like a sponge if it's unsealed. And that's where Quikrete acrylic cure and seal will come in. This water-based acrylic sealer goes on with a simple roller or even a garden sprayer, and it forms a protective barrier against water, ice, and those de-icing chemicals, which can be so damaging. It's going to help prevent scaling and deterioration from repeated freeze-thaw cycles, and it will leave a beautiful semi-gloss finish that makes your concrete easier to clean and longer lasting. The bottom line here is if you spend a little time now sealing those cracks and protecting the surfaces, you will avoid costly repairs come springtime. And remember, Quikrete products are available at home improvement retailers nationwide. For more info and those helpful how-to videos, visit quikrete.com. Quikrete, it's what America's made of. All right, great advice from our friends over at Quikrete. Let's share some more here. Jim, who do we have next?
All right, Leslie, now we have Shen, who needs some help tiling a concrete wall. What's going on, Shen?
Hi there. Calling from New Hampshire. I have a staircase that goes from a garage up into the living area. And at the bottom garage level of the staircase, there are poured cement walls that I would like to cover with tile. And I am wondering the best way to prep this surface, both to keep out moisture and to accept the tiles that I would like to put on.
Hey, Shen, thanks for joining us. Well, a couple of things come to mind here. First of all, because you see signs of moisture, you should be taking some steps to try and reduce that. And it's almost always caused by a problem with your gutters. So maybe they're overflowing with leaves and they're clogged, or maybe the downspout is clogged, or perhaps that downspout is just dropping all of that water right near that wall or the soil, and it's just kind of sitting there. So what you would want to do is definitely go ahead and make sure all of that is working, free flowing. Just double check because you want that water to run away and you don't want it going right back to the house. In terms of tiling, you definitely could tile over those foundation walls. There is one important step though that you might not be aware of. There's something called an uncoupling membrane, and it's basically a waterproof membrane that would be adhered to the wall, and then the tile would be adhered to that. And by doing that, if there's any differential movement, which always tends to happen between the tile and the wall itself, it's not going to crack the tile and cause the tiles to pop off. So it's definitely a project that you could do. Of course, you have to have the right materials like that membrane, the right adhesives, which you're going to be looking for, and you want ones that are properly rated for outdoor use. And I would take a look at a product called Ditra. It's made by Schluter, and they're a company that specializes in waterproof membranes. And that could be the product that you need to go in between the tile and the wall. And this is going to be a good project for you. And it's kind of fun to pick out the tiles, and it's definitely fun to install them. So good luck with that, Shen.
The holidays have arrived at the Home Depot, and we're here to help bring the excitement with decor for every part of your home. Check out our wide assortment of easy-to-assemble pre-lit trees so you can spend less time setting up and more time celebrating. And bring your holiday spirit outdoors with unique decor like one of our Santa inflatables. Whatever your style, find the right pieces at the right prices this holiday season at the Home Depot.
At Sierra, discover top workout gear at incredible prices, which might lead to another discovery. Your headphones haven't been connected this whole time. Awkward. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
Hey guys, I've got a great fall tip for you. It's a really good one. You don't have to overhaul your spaces if you want to give it that autumny feel at home. You really don't have to make major design differences. You can just make a few smart swaps to give you that instant autumny feel, which I think is all some people need, and that's totally fine. Swap out those florals. You want to put in some dried wheat, eucalyptus, even fall foliage that you find around the yard. As the leaves start to change...
Wait a second. Fun fall foliage that you find?
Yeah, fun fall foliage that you find around the yard.
Nice, Leslie. You crushed that.
I did. It's like I love it. We have these hydrangea in the backyard that all summer long are sort of this white ivory color, and they're beautiful. But something magical happens in September. That flower turns pink, but like a beautiful, warm, autumny kind of pinkish green golden tone.
Cool.
And this is the perfect time of year to just snip them and stick them in a vase on the dining table. I guarantee you, though, as they start to dry out, they will fall apart into a million pieces. So you got to know when to be like, it's time to get rid of them. But it really is lovely to look around the yard, watch as the foliage is changing, and see what you can bring inside to give you that feel from the outdoors in. Think about trading out some colors from the summer with those jewel tones, greens, oranges, all of those burnt warm tones, even plum, because while they say autumn, Halloween, they also say Thanksgiving, and they could say Christmas. So this is a great way to bring in that decor and kind of ride it out as the season changes, and you don't have to do a lot to get a big impact. Just want to bring in that cozy feeling, and you'll be so glad you did. Well, fall isn't just for flannel and pumpkin spice. It's also a fantastic time to pick up the paintbrush. Whether you're refreshing a tired room or you're finally tackling that guest room before the holidays, the cooler, drier weather makes autumn ideal for your painting projects, both inside and out. But the hardest part is picking the right color. So let's talk about the color. Choosing that perfect paint shade can feel overwhelming. I mean, there's a lot of options out there, but it doesn't have to be. So here's a few tips to simplify the decision. You want to use nature for inspiration. I mean, fall's color palette is rich in rusts and golds and earthy greens and cozy neutrals. Even if you're not going bold, these tones add warmth and depth to any room. You also want to test before you commit. They make sample sizes. Try them. Paint a few swatches on different walls and check out how they look in natural daylight and at night with your indoor lighting. That perfect gray could turn purpley after sunset. And maybe you like that, but maybe you don't. Also, go with the flow. You want to choose colors that complement the nearby rooms, especially if you have more of an open floor plan, because that space needs to feel cohesive and it needs to feel inviting. Now, you've got to remember you need to prep like a pro, because a flawless paint job starts before you open that can. Clean the walls. Dust, grease, even fingerprints can keep paint from sticking properly. Patch and sand. You want to fill holes, sand any bumps, caulk gaps, gives you that nice smooth finish, and then go ahead and protect the space. You can use painter's tape around the trim, and don't forget drop cloths, even just for touch-ups, because even when you think you're just touching something up, I feel like when you're doing like this little simple thing, that's when the silliest mistake happens. You're like, burp, and you drop a whole gallon of paint on the floor. So just put down the drop cloths. Even if it's a quick one, you'll be so happy just in case. Now, if you're looking for some fall-specific painting tips, I mean, the best part here is that fall has lower humidity and the mild temperatures, which actually make it ideal for that paint to cure properly. But keep these tips in mind. You want to mind the temperature, because most paints need to be applied when it's between 50 and 85 degrees. If it's too cold, the paint's not going to dry right. If it's too hot, it's not going to cure evenly. Watch your windows. Shorter days do mean less natural light, so plan for your painting time accordingly and make sure you've got good lighting in those areas so you can miss those kind of missed spots. We call them vacations, holidays. Paint took a holiday. So you don't want to get those, and the lighting will help you. And paint smart indoors. The ventilation is key. Even in the cooler weather, crack a few windows open, keep a fan moving the air through the space. And don't forget those finishing touches. buy some new outlet covers, buy some new switch plates, even some fresh hardware just gives that freshly painted room a more polished look. And it's those little upgrades that make a big difference. So whether you're updating your space for the holidays or you're just ready for a new vibe, fall is the perfect time to pick a paint color that you will love and finally get it on the walls with a finish that will last all year long. All right, Jim, before you start picking out a paint color, who do we have up next for the Money Pit?
All right, Leslie, we've got Keith in Georgia on the line with a crawl space question. How can we help out, Keith?
I've got about a 40 or 50s built home, and my crawl space is probably 18 or 20 inches, really low.
All right.
Listening to y'all's show, it says, y'all said that, you need to have some kind of a sealing on the dirt under there. Just wondering, any suggestions on a product that I could use to seal something with a small crawl space like that?
Yeah, and all you want to do, Keith, is just use polyethylene sheeting. It's the same kind of sheeting that you might see as like a drop cloth, but it could be a little bit thicker than a traditional drop cloth. Then you go ahead and roll that out and lay the sheathing across that crawl space floor. And I always tell everyone to make sure that you kind of scan that floor first. You want to make sure there's no debris or anything that could potentially break through that plastic. But then lay that sheeting out across the whole entire crawl space floor. And you can even let it run up the walls a few inches just to make sure you're getting in there nice and tight and getting full coverage. And just having that plastic sheeting right there on that dirt floor is going to stop a lot of that moisture that naturally will evaporate through the sand and then the soil and up into the house, and just will make your home a lot drier and so much more nice in that space. And it can also prevent mold and mildew from forming, which is huge.
Okay, thank you so much, because while I was trying to figure, I said, well, if I just lay it, it's not going to seal it.
No, it really does do a pretty good job. It just covers it up and stops that evaporation. You don't have to, it's really not that hard of a job to do. The hardest part is probably getting the plastic in there and cutting it to size and getting it laid in there nice and flat. So if you start down at one end and kind of work your way down, it should be a fairly easy project to do, and you should be good to go.
Okay. All right. That'll be great. I appreciate it.
All right, Keith, thanks so much for calling the Money Pit.
When did making plans get this complicated? It's time to streamline with WhatsApp, the secure messaging app that brings the whole group together. Use polls to settle dinner plans. Send event invites and pin messages so no one forgets Mom's 60th. And never miss a meme or milestone. All protected with end-to-end encryption. It's time for WhatsApp. Message privately with everyone. Learn more at whatsapp.com.
The new Popeyes and Hot Ones menu is fire flavor. Trust me, because I'm about to eat it. Woo! That hits right away. Attempt the Popeyes Hot Ones menu in stores. Love that chicken from Popeyes. Limited time in participating U.S. restaurants.
So do you have a room in your house that just feels hopeless? If you do, you're definitely not alone. A new survey found that half of Americans believe that they have at least one room that's completely unsalvageable. But we're here to tell you no space is beyond saving with the right strategy. So what's stopping you? One word, guys. It's clutter. Let's start with the usual suspects. Closets top the list, with 33% of people saying they can't keep them organized. I have one closet that I just shove stuff in until I can't take it anymore, and then I tackle everything. Garages are a close second, because 24% of folks admit they've got items scattered with no real home. And even more telling, over a third of us say we simply don't have enough room for all our stuff. But here's the thing. Most of these lost causes aren't about square footage. They're about systems, or really a lack of them. So start purging. If you're hanging onto boxes you haven't opened in 3 years, it's time. Open them up. Begin small. Think a drawer, a shelf, or like one category, and set a timer for 20 minutes and just do it. Next, rethink your furniture. Multifunctional pieces are magic in smaller, tight spaces. So maybe it's an ottoman that opens up, or a bed that has built-in drawers, or benches with hidden compartments. You're going to get the storage that you want without sacrificing style. And when it comes to the garage, it does often become that catch-all zone, but the fix is surprisingly simple. Look at wall-mounted storage that can free up the floor space. Overhead ceiling racks, if you've got a seasonal bin or sports gear, just put it up and out of the way. And tool organizers or slat wall systems can help turn that messy garage into a workshop that maybe you're actually going to want to use. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. So every small change builds momentum to do the next small change, to do the next small change until that whole space is tackled. And who knows, once you've got that space cleared out, it could open the door for that room becoming your new favorite spot in the house. I love this. I always find, though, that I start an organization project and then get distracted by a different project and then go to sleep. And I'm like, oh, no, I emptied my entire closet on my bed. And now I have to go sleep in it. Do you not do that?
Not that exactly, Leslie. No.
I do that at least twice a year.
And Leslie, this tip couldn't be any more spot on for me because I've been doing some garage work. And normally I'd look at the job and say, okay, that's a 2-3 day job. And I just don't have 2 or 3 days. Well, after much procrastination, I just dove in and I didn't try to nail it all in a day, or I did 2-3 hours and gave it a rest, went at it a couple of days later, and I'm still not done, but I'm halfway through.
But you're halfway through, and that's like the best feeling.
Yeah, a month ago I was nowhere near, so.
All right, well, every little project that you complete like that motivates you for the next one. So ride that wave, Jimmy. Keep working on that closet.
Oh yeah, sister.
All right, who's up next?
Back out to the East Coast now, Leslie. You're into the country. We've got Dawn on the line who's got a question about her garage. What's happening, Dawn?
Well, when the house was built, there was trim put around both garage doors, which electronically open and close. But at the very bottom, in each corner, there's a space. Mice come in and out of there, so I put some steel wool in there. But I need to add a piece of the trim to the bottom of both corners because water comes in when it comes in a certain direction. And I can't figure out whether I should get a piece of trim and cut it and glue it up there or screw it up there or replace the whole thing.
All right. So when you say trim, there's actually several.
Several?
Several. Several.
Okay.
Okay. And I'll say that in my most dastardly villain voice.
I'll just roll with it, I guess.
Sorry, Dawn. There are several different pieces of trim that do go around the garage door. There's the jamb, which is like the side pieces. There's the weather stripping, which goes on the side piece and against the door. Then there's the molding on the outside, which is sort of like a trim. Then there's casing called brick mold. What exactly are you referring to?
Weather stripping.
Okay, so it's the weather stripping between the side jamb and the door itself. So you're going to have a hard time getting a small piece of that stuff to stick. So I would say your options are to replace that entire vertical piece, which really isn't a big deal to do. And if you were to try to cut a new piece in, what you'd have to do is make that at least a foot or two long to sort of seam it in so that it works well. And you would basically have to sort of piece in around it. Now, first you would want to cut it clean about a foot or two off the ground and then put the other piece in because you can't just put an 1.5 inch piece. It's just not going to stick. You can't nail it. It's just too small. So it's really just easier to replace that whole piece of weather stripping, okay?
Thank you so much.
You can even replace several pieces of weather stripping. And now it's time for Jim's favorite part, the emails.
It is my favorite part, Leslie. We've got Tracy, and she wrote in saying, I want to take the wallpaper off my wall. Or are there any other options?
Well, I mean, Tracy, how much effort do you want here? Because wallpaper, it could take a lot to get off, especially if it was like directly on top of the plaster or on top of untreated sheetrock. So it depends. I might kind of give it a little test and see what the surface is like. You can try to peel off a section in an area you're not going to see. You can use a tool like a paper tiger to just kind of score it and take a section off and see how simple it comes off. If you want to put some effort, emails.
It is my favorite part, Leslie. We've got Tracy, and she wrote in saying, I want to take the wallpaper off my wall. Or are there any other options?
Well, I mean, Tracy, how much effort do you want here? Because wallpaper, it could take a lot to get off, especially if it was like directly on top of the plaster or on top of untreated sheetrock. So it depends. I might kind of give it a little test and see what the surface is like. You can try to peel off a section in an area you're not going to see. You can use a tool like a paper tiger to just kind of score it and take a section off and see how simple it comes off. If you want to put some effort into it here and get that wallpaper off, you would use that paper tiger. You score the surface, then you can treat it with sort of like a glue softener and then a steamer, like truly just a fabric steamer to kind of loosen it, and then you can peel it away. And you want to kind of get it off in as large pieces or sheets as possible, and that will help you. And once you get it off, you can kind of assess the situation behind. You're definitely going to have to sand because the adhesive is going to be a little yucky back there. You'll sand, try to get rid of that unevenness, and then just prep and prepare those walls. I mean, other option is sheetrocking entirely over it, but that's an even bigger project in my opinion.
Everybody wants a green lifestyle, I would think, but that requires 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. Well, on Leslie's last word, she has a tip on how to build a green table. It delivers all 3 of those. Leslie, fill us in on your last word.
Yeah, I love to repurpose things, and that could be something that you find while driving. Maybe somebody's getting rid of an old nightstand or a small dresser that works great as a side table and doubles as toy storage. Or perhaps you have something around the house that can just be turned into a side table. Because it's all about having a little spot to put your cozy cup of tea or your hot cocoa during these chillier times of the year. So those beautiful garden stools that you use outside around the garden, they're usually glazed ceramic, they're decorative, they're very adorable. You can bring them inside once the weather's too cold to have them outside and just plop them next to your favorite seat. Obviously, give them a good washing because outside yuck doesn't go well on the inside, but it makes it a great spot to have a cute little side table, and it gives it such interesting depth and character and color. And you could always put one in the bathroom if you've got the space and put a little orchid or a candle on there, or maybe just a little towel. And that really is a great way. The other thing I like to use is maybe you can find like a large wire basket, something that's taller that maybe was used for, I don't know, laundry or something. And then you could cut a wood top, whether that's circular or square or whatever the shape of that basket is, and attach it to the top of that basket. And suddenly you have a great, interesting side table, stacking up old suitcases, a cool old trunk. Sometimes all it takes is like a piece of glass to go on top of something that's unusual or interesting or different, and it's a brand new table. So there's a lot of ways I would be open to looking at something and thinking, can I use this as a table? Sometimes I look at something and go, can I turn it into a lamp? Because lamp hardware, once you discover how simple it is to build a lamp, becomes the new easy table. So we'll talk about ways that you can recycle, but this is a great time of year to bring the outdoors in, find something, give it a new purpose, even if you're just shopping your garage or your neighbor's tag sale. Wonderful way to add some new life. Coming up next week, guys, it's still fall. We're starting to get ourselves inside more. So you're tending to be stuck inside. And if you end up with too much moisture inside, you could be seeing some mold or mildew, but can you tell the difference between the two? Because each one requires a different approach to handle. So we're going to break down how to spot the signs, how you can prevent it from coming back, and lots more autumn tips on the next Money Pit. We've got a lot of things to keep you guys busy through the entire fall season. And remember, guys, you can do it yourself, but you don't have to do it alone. We'll see you next week.
On the Money Pit Radio Show. Show.
Pick up the telephone,
fix up your home sweet home by calling 888 Money Pit. Woo!
And Doug. Here we have the Limu Emu in its natural habitat, helping people customize their car insurance and save hundreds with Liberty Mutual. Fascinating. It's accompanied by his natural ally, Doug.
Limu? Is that guy with the binoculars watching us?
Cut the camera. They see us.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Savings vary. Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Excludes Massachusetts.